Everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of the United States of a Movie Podcast, the movie podcast where we try to answer the unanswerable question by trying to define each state in the United States by just one movie. At least that's what we're usually doing, but this week we're doing a special. We're in a state of thanks because we wanted to figure out the best ultimate Thanksgiving movie, the ultimate American holiday, and the very same American holiday that's got me weighing 18 pounds more than I did on the last episode. Because, holy cow, guys, what is with Thanksgiving? That being said, I couldn't get through this without my amazing co-hosts who hopefully have been gorging themselves on turkey and ham and sweet potatoes and mashed potatoes and everything else in between. Ryan Sander, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Oh, so I'm so thankful to be here. I love many things.
I'm thank you you're here. And Will Hirsch, buddy, our resident movie nerd. Welcome back, Will.
Thank you for having me back. I am now more turkey than man, and I couldn't be happier. This is a fantastic way to live.
It's been like if we were doing 7 Deadly Sins, if we were doing the 7 movie, good Lord, the amount of sins that I've been committing this week.
Mostly exactly what I look like as that guy.
All of them. Yeah, you go from gluttony straight to sloth. It's just the two, two main ones.
A little bit of both, and then at some point a bit of a slut in the middle. Isn't that one of them? Isn't sluttiness one? I don't remember.
I think it's the main one. Yeah. That's what I took away from that movie.
I only watched that movie once recently, by the way, because of course the ending had been spoiled by zeitgeist in general. But still, that is a dark ass movie.
That's how she came up with the idea for Goop.
She lost her head about it.
It's a bunch of dumb shit in a box.
Hey, really quickly as a sidebar, let's talk about it because it's on Netflix right now. The Killer. Who saw The Killer? I saw The Killer. I liked it.
Yeah, I saw it in the. I told you I was telling you guys. I went a week early. I saw it in the theater because the idea of seeing like a Fincher movie not on Netflix. I'm like, oh my god, hell yeah! And I remember leaving the theater, like, just kind of flummoxed. Like I was expecting something else. Maybe I was expecting more of like a John Wick type experience. But after watching it like 7 more times, I fucking love it.
It was funny because your review actually prevented me from seeing it.
I know. And
I read your review. I was like,
I'm sorry about that.
I'll go see something else.
What did I say, Will? I said, don't let him bully you out of watching it in the movie theater.
I was bummed. I honestly, like, I left the theater just kind of like bummed out. I was like, I was like, did I not like this? But after rewatching it a number of times and appreciating it on a different level, I think it's a very good movie. It's not one of his top films, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, well, that's hard. I mean, the thing about it is now he's got such a filmography that
it's definitely Aliens 3.
Even picking a top 5, it depends on your mood.
Yeah.
But I've been gagging to show Mrs. What about you, Will? Did you eventually watch it?
Yeah. I checked it out and I liked it for the most part. I would still say the end left me kind of being like, oh, this is it? This is okay. Yeah. So it was just kind of like it landed a little bit with a thud where I was like, all right.
Yeah.
But I was enjoying I enjoyed the entire film. I still really liked it. There were so many parts I laughed at and Fincher doesn't usually do like scenes that are kind of just straight up comedy scenes. And of course, this is a very dark comedy, but there were definitely some shots where it was so funny just because of how jarring it was.
Well, it's like, what if a modern day killer had Amazon Prime? You know, like
that blew me away.
That was great.
I was just like it seems like
so
international assassinations become easier with Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Hey man.
And my
get you the same day.
Yeah.
And Ollie, like we always talk about like the movies back in the day, you'd get like a 30-minute featurette on like how they did it or how they made that. And now you can like go on YouTube and watch visual effects breakdowns for how they made some of these scenes. And you're just like, just the minutia he goes through to digitally remove like blinking, for example, or something like that.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Really cool. Yeah.
I heard that there were a number of VFX shots in Gone Girl because he wasn't happy with the quality of the wig that Rosamund Pike is wearing. So in every shot, they're digitally removing wig lines and stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome to our David Fincher podcast, the United States of David Fincher.
I was going to say they had to digitally shrink Ben Affleck's dick. Couldn't fit the frame.
But that's every movie.
Suddenly, Mrs. is going to want to watch Gone Girl when she's listening to this episode. All right, guys, let's get back on track. Thanksgiving. We picked a very, 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 very famous Thanksgiving movie. which is mine, Addams Family Values. We also picked one of the most famous Thanksgiving movies. Will, what did you pick?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, that one that just kicks you right in the nads and
great.
makes you want to give your family a hug. And then Ryan brought a movie to the table that has an absolutely stacked cast, directed by a very famous actress, made in 1995 that I've never heard of in my life. What is that movie, Ryan?
Checks notes. Don't remember. No, it's Home for the Holidays.
Yeah.
A movie I'd never seen either.
No, I think that was the first time for all of us, yes?
Yeah.
This is the fun part about the podcast.
Yeah. I like to think, after watching that, I like to think this is what happens immediately after the ending of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It just, this movie that movie dovetails right into Home for the Holidays.
That would have been a good way to do it, actually, because I actually finished with Home for the Holidays. And, you know, I had no memory of this movie. And when I finished the movie, I realized why I have no memory of this movie, because all of the pieces are there. Let me give you like a rundown. Now, if you're one of everyone that's listening to this or watching this that's never seen Home for the Holidays, the cast: Holly Hunter, Robert Downey Jr., Dylan McDermott Mulroney, Anne Bancroft, Charles Durning, Steve Guttenberg, Claire Danes, and a young Adam Driver.
Yep.
It's like,
as Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, the cast is massive, and it's directed by Jodie Foster. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, what? Wait, what? Because I love Holly Hunter and I love Robert Downey Jr. And I was like, okay, this sounds like shenanigans. There were shenanigans, but
they weren't so shenanigan-y. They were just kind of
just tepid family. Yeah, just tepid family musings and such. Nothing really happens in this movie.
That's kind of it, right? So I'll give you. Let's just jump into Home for the Holidays. Let's get this
out of the way.
This out of the way before we can get to the turkey and the ham and the mashed potatoes of the other movies.
Yeah.
But essentially,
the cranberry sauce of the movies.
This is and it came out of a can.
Well, hang on.
That's the best form of cranberries.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm drinking right now.
I'm just drinking gravy, right? So yeah, delicious. Holly Hunter, adorable, at her best in many ways, gorgeous Holly Hunter in this movie plays Claudia Larson, a single mother who's just been fired from her job that brings her so much joy. She's basically an art restoration person. The credits went way too long on the art restoration.
Yeah. Credits went halfway through the movie.
Other visual way of doing it, Jodie. Come on. I was sick and tired. Like, we're getting to edited by, and I'm like, we're just looking at a brush for 2.5 minutes. I'm like, come on.
She's painting with egg yolk. Like, she's a restoration. She's a restoration artist, correct?
Yeah. That's
she's also
weird things you learn from doing right.
She is also an artist, but we'll get to that later.
She though, but she is also. So she decides to fly from Chicago to spend Thanksgiving in Baltimore with her parents, played by Anne Bancroft, Charles Durning. While she's getting fired by that guy he's from
Short Circuit.
Short Circuit, exactly.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. The older guy from Short Circuit. I need a stat. That guy that says stat.
So you got him and Gutenberg in this movie.
Yeah.
It's a Short Circuit reunion.
Yeah. If only Johnny Five. Okay. If anybody is watching us on YouTube right now, for some reason a bunch of balloons just went through. Right.
I don't know why.
When you mentioned the Goot, you got to have a celebration.
Yeah. Oh man, what was I talking about? Anyway, if Johnny Five had turned up and just
it would have been a much better film. Let's be honest.
Needing 100%. Input. But just as she's going home, so she makes out with the guy from Short Circuit for never really explained reasons or who went in to kiss each other or why.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if she was trying to save her job or she's just an emotional wreck at that moment, but it was a bizarre choice.
I mean, she was coming off that paint restoration, like,
maybe the fumes.
Like a very satisfied woman already, so she was, it made me want to start restoring paintings. So.
Yeah, I mean, she slid right off that chair.
Okay. It's all right, Will. If you want to take care of that, just go and watch Ghostbusters 2, and that'll take care of the art restoration. That bug.
I thought another way to improve this movie, if that quick cut to her just restoring Vigo. Great.
100%. So that's the thing. So then just as she's getting dropped off at the airport by her 16-year-old daughter, Claire Danes drops the hammer of, oh, by the way, Mum, I'm going to go to Bone Town with my boyfriend. Have a nice trip.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that Holly Hunter had her when she was 16 or 17 herself. Yeah. So again, you'd think this would be kind of setting stuff up. Guys, we're setting you guys up with plot in the movie that doesn't really matter or pay off in any way, does it?
No. But much like any, family Thanksgiving, it's family thing, like the dysfunctional dinner, so to speak. You have all of the pieces there, but none of it really matters. There's no like weight to it. It just kind of happens.
There were other things I noticed that felt like maybe they were set up or was supposed to be like a repeating theme. That the egg yolks were like had shown up twice, and I was waiting for there to be some thing because like not only is it in the paint restoration, but then later when they're cooking in the kitchen, there's like egg yolk that gets on the floor and stuff, and I was like, okay, there's gonna be something with this.
There is one connection, and that is the production company being Egg Pictures. That is the only thing that I could think of to get, because that's it. Any other thing?
There you go. What more do you need?
Mystery solved.
They're gonna love this joke.
Yeah. They're gonna love
hilarious.
This
Cracked it.
Yeah.
So like she's a little bit, off because she's just lost her job and her daughter is going to Bone Town. So she calls the answering machine that we discover of a brother, some mystical brother, and she kind of breaks down, has a bit of a cry, confesses everything, and just
on the airplane. This is back when there was telephones in the back seat of the airplane.
Yeah, that call costs $75.
Yep.
And then it's like she needs her brother to be there for emotional support. Well, it turns out that her brother is kind of a dick, actually.
The introduction to her brother and his friend is truly bizarre because it's the first night there, she's getting settled. She's in a room. The parents are asleep. You get that classic shot of the father waking up in the middle of the night to sneak some pumpkin pie. My stepdad would do that and still does that all the time. It's hysterical. But then you get Robert Downey Jr. and Dylan McDermott Mulroney rolling up in the loudest car you could possibly drive in with what seems to be night vision goggles.
Yes, for some reason, night vision goggles and
like the Sharper Image consumer brand.
Right. Yeah. Not military grade.
And it's unclear. Like, oh my God, is like, oh cool, something else is going to happen. Like they're breaking into this house. But no, it turns out it's her brother who likes to take Polaroid pictures of her in bed.
Yep. And up her shirt.
And naked pictures of her.
Yeah. Yes. And naked pictures. That's right. Yeah. Naked pictures when she's in the shower. Yeah. Because he's a 90s scallywag homosexual. And boy, oh boy, does he play that cliche, sort of right down the middle.
I mean, it comes across, and this is going to sound strange, but it comes across like the actor was on a lot of heroin during the time. I know that seems like that's an impossibility, but that's just the vibe I got.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. And I will say that so the Robert Downey Jr. turns up as Tommy, and Tommy has his friend Leo Fish, played by Dylan McDermott Mulroney, and the guy with the blue eyes. And he's a total smoke show, absolutely. Who doesn't want to jump him? Again, we are the gayest straight podcast when it comes to music, because we do like.
That's our promise to you at home.
Yeah, very, very sexy guys. Like we were always.
Because without that, there's no other reason to watch this movie. Let's be honest.
Well, you're not wrong. So Robert Downey Jr. turns up with this guy, Leo Fish. Now, I've said Robert Downey Jr. is gay, and so she's like, a lot of people are concerned as to where Jack is. Jack being Robert Downey Jr.'s long-term boyfriend, and now he's turning up to Thanksgiving with this other guy, which sets up this whole. And it's, I will agree, confusing. You are, even as a viewer, confused as to, okay, what is this going? What's the relationship between these people, kind of thing. And then you've also got crazy Aunt Gladys, played by Geraldine Chaplin, who sets up one of the weirdest parts of the movie.
Oh my God.
And then we also have Steve Guttenberg playing the brother-in-law, because there's Cynthia. Cynthia plays Joanne, the other sister. Cynthia Stevenson plays the other sister, who's like super conservative, buttoned up, religious, judgmental. Again, it's just a bunch of cliches sitting around. Now I say this, but I will say that I think I would have enjoyed this movie as a stage play, because in every way it feels like a play. And I texted, I think, you guys halfway through the movie, and I was like, it doesn't surprise me that an actor, Jodie Foster, would want to make this movie. And I bet once they all read the script, they're like, oh, there's so much we can get into. And I can just see Jodie Foster at rehearsals telling everyone, swing for the fences, act the shit out of it. And that's what they're doing.
And they do, yeah.
Yeah,
they do.
They are.
Yeah.
But it's almost self-indulgent. It's almost like there hasn't been a no given to them in notes. It's all been yes, use it, do it.
Well, even
go there.
Even all the breaks, they're each scene is almost like a small vignette in its own way. So it does make perfect sense. Like,
I was
there are
confused
title
by,
breaks.
Like, the Frasier style like breaks that they would have. I was just like, what's the point of this? Did they just see Clerks or something? And they were like, oh, I've got it. I know what our narrative device is going to be.
It was a strange choice, wasn't it? It's like, so it's broken up to like 6 chapters, but it's like, it's not.
But when the killer does it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. No, but right. And I say, but it's not like when Tarantino does it as well. It was more just like you're reading a book and it's just the name of the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, relatives, more relatives. You know, it's like, I didn't get it. That's the thing is like this movie, you know, like we're all saying, is a lot happens and then some great acting, but it's almost like everyone had, all right, you're going to get 8 minutes of acting and you're going to 8 minutes of acting. Everyone's going to get their moment. Everyone's going to get their scene. So like usually you'd have 3 main characters and then the other characters would kind of be in the background. It was kind of like just having 9 main characters all at the same time.
I had to watch this movie in 2 parts because one, I really wasn't paying attention because it's just, like I said, nothing really, it all kind of, it doesn't even like boil to a head. It's just a very tepid film. So I had to like, I had people over and I'm watching it at like the Thanksgiving dinner scene. And I'm like, hang on, I should probably rewind and watch this to pay attention for this podcast. So I did. It just took me a long time to get back and get back into it. And I'm like, because that scene is insane. Yeah. It's so fucking bonkers. And it's so like, so much is happening, but also nothing is happening. You got Robert Downey. They each decide they have to both. I think the sister makes her own turkey. The mother makes her turkey her way. The father, he's got to cut the turkey, but he's kind of got some shit going on.
And his wrists.
So and then
Downey Jr. starts doing it
and it's not like an electric carver. He's just like really hacking at it. Like everyone's having conversations over one another. That's the one thing that felt very realistic. Was the dialogue it felt real.
Yeah, Steve Guttenberg's doing like a soliloquy and no one's listening to him.
Yeah.
And it keeps cutting back to him while he's talking about, like whatever it is, it's the people, the government, social, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then you've got everything else going on. You've got the interplay between the brother and sister. You've got the dad. You've got again, but it didn't work. No. For me, that's the thing. It's like, right, I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm watching this movie and I'm texting you guys and I'm like, oh wait, I should be watching this movie, but it doesn't. I don't want to watch this movie. There's not much.
There's no stakes. You'd think like the fact that her brother being gay in the 90s would be like a massive deal, but it kind of isn't, which I guess is refreshing to say. But you'd think there would be like more drama between these characters, and I think the only characters that have like a lot of drama are Holly Hunter and her sister.
Right, and then Robert Downey Jr. and that same sister, because like. As much as I like RDJ and I find him super charming in his character, but I was constantly like, dude, you're just shit stirring. You're causing trouble. You're being a dick.
Yeah.
You know,
he's the younger brother, you know?
Yeah, no, but I was like, oh yeah, you're just being a dick. The thing about it is I was thinking because it does come out. So it turns out that Dylan McDermott Mulroney, again, wow, literally you've ruined this for me now. Leo Fish.
I've enhanced this for you.
Isn't Robert Downey Jr.'s like boyfriend. It turns out that no, he brought him along to see Holly Hunter. Like, maybe, would you like to bone my sister? So there's a kind of like, well, I would say there's a will they, won't they, but it's like, it's more like, do we even care? And then they just don't. It's weird.
She's like, I really should. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. And then like right at the very last second, he just gets on the plane. I couldn't be less interested in their story.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, is instead of the sort of the gay angle being played up for wow, it's done in a very just who cares kind of way. And then even the dad is like, he finds out that RDJ has secretly got off and got married to Jack. And so I think the only sort of slight sort of joke about it was, did you wear a dress?
Did you wear a dress?
Yeah. The mom was
sort of like that Gene Hackman level of just not knowing that Mother Coleman was a woman. Just kind of like blissful unawareness. It was kind of charming, but then you realize like, oh, he's kind of losing his marbles. But we got to talk about the aunt and her insane tirade.
Yeah.
And just clugging some wine.
That was...
And then singing?
In the whole movie, that is the only real thing that I remember or was even interested in. It's the only sort of moment of, oh, and then it just kind of gets brushed over like and pushed into the background again. So the bit that Ryan is talking about is the crazy aunt, Aunt Gladys. She has been showing signs of dementia in the movie, and she gets up, says she's thankful for, chugs this wine, like chugs it.
Yeah, and like a heavy glass of white wine.
Yeah, I knew. I mean, you're like, oh, wow, that's going to feel bad later. And she sort of talks about Charles Durning, so basically her sister's husband, about how 40 years before they had kissed and about how she'd been in love with him forever. But it's done in a kind of sweet way. It's done in a bit of a crazy way. The whole table is like, no, I think you should get this out. She talks about this one tiny kiss that they had, and it tickled her, like, you know, the lip with the mustache.
He had a mustache, yeah.
And then the mum, the wife, sort of accepts it but walks out and deals with it. And then again, there's no like thing. There's no outcome. There's no.
Well, then she kisses him again when they all leave.
Right.
But still, it's bizarre. And then the mother goes into like her secret hide-a-hole pantry, which is super cool. It's in like a hidden thing. I'm like,
yeah, I like that. They press the wall and it opens up.
Yeah, everyone's smoking cigarettes.
Yes,
her wig is all fucked up. The movie is it's insane. I'm saying it like if it would have had a laugh track, it would have been better.
Yeah, you know, it's weird because it reminds me a little bit of like the kind of movies Linklater makes. In that, you know. If you look at Dazed and Confused, that also does not really have a plot. It's really just a slice of life. It's a lot of vignettes and it's an ensemble cast. But why is that one so much more memorable than this? Because it's a similar approach,
right? Same as Everybody Wants
doesn't land,
which is another Linklater. Right. Exactly. It's there's just no sort of charm to it. I mean, the thing is, that's a really good one, Will. Like, because it is, you know, Linklater does do this, but that sort of conversational friendliness that kind of exists, like there's almost no script to it.
Yeah.
This one felt like it was almost too scripted. Like I said, it's that it's that actors acting, doing their acting moment. Whereas like with Linklater, it's almost like no one's acting, everyone's just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's there's an authenticity to like the Before trilogy, which I think is like some of the best movies ever made. There's like an effortlessness, and it feels so real. And this almost feels just too contrived. Like there's too many wacky characters for there to be like no outcome to any of it.
I think Ollie, you definitely hit the nail on the head. This absolutely feels way more like a stage play than it does a film.
Yeah.
You know?
But even in the way it's shot, I mean, like you're saying, like Ryan, that once you set up the Thanksgiving all in this house, you just need to have on set just 4 places for these things to happen, and that's where they do happen. It's like there's almost nothing to the movie, which is, and like a $20 million movie, it's probably just for the acting. It's all actors pay.
Yeah. So Robert Downey Jr.'s drug addiction.
Yeah. But then they were trying to do something. I guess Jodie was trying to do something, because at the end of the movie we get all these sort of little things of like we're playing out the moments in people's heads, their favorite Thanksgiving moment. You see the moment of the kiss with the aunt and the uncle. We see the moment of, you know, well, again, I'm trying to reference them, but some of them are so forgetful. But I was watching this going, I guess I'm supposed to be feeling something here.
Yeah.
And all I was sort of feeling was, is this movie
boredom?
Yeah. It's like, are the credits going to goddamn roll?
And the ending, it's so anticlimactic. Like it's the classic tale of the brother brings his friend home, and you know, Holly Hunter's she's available, and they have this will they won't they, and then they end up yes, but it's just so like bland.
It's like the ending of the Thomas Crown Affair. Right? She gets on the plane, and then suddenly there's the guy as well, and you're supposed to feel something, and you don't. You don't feel anything. You don't really care about Holly Hunter. You do care about Dylan McDermott Mulroney's blue eyes, and then the credits roll, and you're like, oh, I'm going to text Ryan.
Yeah, you know, and
I'll never forgive you for this.
This was such a pre 9/11 movie, because I was watching it just being like, oh, you can't bring orange juice and a lamp onto a plane. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They would have arrested and tased you 8 times over.
Yeah, even watching Planes, Trains, I was like, oh right, yeah, of course.
This is so pre 9/11.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like I was thinking that Robert Downey Jr.'s character, as well as going to get to, I think I think, don't quote me on this, Jodie Foster, but I have been in a Jodie Foster directed movie, just FYI, with George Clooney and Julia Roberts. I was in that movie. Money, what's it called? I can't remember.
Money Plane?
Yeah, that's it. Money Plane. But yeah, no, it was Money Monster. I was playing myself, funnily enough. So as someone who's worked with Jodie Foster as my director in movies, I can say this. But I feel like Robert Downey Jr. was kind of, because, you know, like Jodie Foster wasn't out at this point. And so I feel like Robert Downey Jr. and the acceptance that he has and the way, you know, in the family and the way it's just played as no big deal, I think is a bit of Jodie Foster. Like,
I'm wondering how much of her is like this, like, I know this is like her movie. How much of her experiences are these experiences, you know?
So that's what I think, because this was like, it probably won't surprise you because considering there's no plot, but it was based off a short story. I wouldn't be surprised if it was based off a novella. But yeah, like you were saying, Will, Robert Downey Jr. has publicly admitted to using heroin during the making of that film. And like, I was just reading this. Jodie Foster wrote him a letter praising his work, but warning him he shouldn't probably do that in the future.
I'd say good advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he hasn't. So
yeah, no, to his credit, the guy definitely figured it out and became the highest paid guy in Hollywood.
Yeah. And he's great. And like all the performances are good. Like he is fantastic in it. It's just it's
hard watching this movie.
His character.
It's hard watching him in this movie knowing that now. Like and that's all. It's really all you can see. Like his movements, his behaviors. They don't seem like character choices. They just seem like him kind of being a little bit. But it kind of works for the scheme of the movie. But
and if that's the one compliment we've been able to give this movie, that Robert Downey Jr. even on heroin is able to make it work.
Yeah. That's a testament to how talented he is. Yeah. I mean,
look at Oppenheimer. He's on bath salts that whole movie.
Crazy. Yeah, it's like I said, it's well acted. Nothing about the story. It's got some interesting cinematography choices. There are interesting like push-ins and camera movements, but nothing that makes me be like, oh wow, this is like a visionary director. It just feels more like stuff that they've tried on the day.
Yeah.
And then we're like, that works.
It's interesting because a lot of people, kind of like we're saying, is it does just play out like a Thanksgiving. You know, reviews are actually not bad. It's got like 64%. It's like people like, oh, Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars. They're saying it's become somewhat of a cult classic in recent years. I'm like, no. But this last run I was reading, a warm, messy comedy about how warm and messy family can be. It doesn't really tell a story so much as chronicle a sequence of events. You know, and I'm like, that's a pretty good way of putting it. Spot on.
Yeah.
I would never
it's a slice of life
movie again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they're all little vignettes. None of them are great, but none of them are bad. It's not a bad movie by any means.
No, I think if you're somebody who watches movies because you like movies about messy people and stuff, if that's like your thing, sure, this movie, I'm not one of them, so it doesn't appeal to me, but you could do worse. I've seen worse, and you could do worse.
There are better dysfunctional family comedies I'm sure you could watch.
Yeah. That's probably
but what was there's the scene early on in the movie when her mom has her check on like the water heater, and there's a repairman in there. I can't remember his name. The guy from River Wild.
David Strathairn.
David Strathairn, yeah.
Yes.
Who plays the most depressing fucking character.
That was the one funny part
in my life. And even Robert Downey Jr. and Dylan McDermott Mulroney are on the other side of the divider, like pretending to sing just he's like, oh, he's such a fucking sad sack. And then he launches into this whole thing and he's like, if I never see you again, have a nice life. And it's just, I'm like, whoa, what the?
Yeah.
Is this guy gonna kill himself?
And it was actually funny. Okay, that was the one part because he's like, yeah, everybody's left me, and like his dog's died or whatever. It's like it's just everything in this guy's life has gone.
Everything. Oh, he's like, yeah, well, once my parents died, it was like it That's really. Right. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, once my parents left me, but it was in a car wreck, so they both went at the same time, and you're just like, what?
Just it was so comedically depressing.
Yeah, and she's like okay, bye. Yeah.
So yeah, fundamentally, weird movie. Lots of pieces, lots of great pieces. None of it really fits together, which is the complete opposite to be said for the most dysfunctional, functional family in the three movies that we're going to talk about, where a whole bunch of pieces are brought together and it creates magic. Let's talk about Addams Family Values from 1993, directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. You know that name. He went on to direct all the Men in Black movies as well. Had that same sort of feeling. You got the incredible cast: Angelica Houston, Raul Julia, Christopher Lloyd, Joan Cusack, killing it in this movie. Christina Ricci, Carol Kane. I mean, this movie wasn't even like close. As soon as I said Thanksgiving, Mrs. knew where I was going. This is her Thanksgiving movie. This movie is awesome.
It's so funny to me that this always pops up in the list of like top Thanksgiving movies, but it's just the one scene at the camp.
It's the one iconic scene, though.
It is.
Granted,
but it's for me to consider this a Thanksgiving movie just based on that scene. Granted, it does mark the entire history of Thanksgiving, all of it. Period accurate. Yes.
Yep.
And it's got, Pugsley as a giant turkey saying, "Eat me." It's fantastic. I love this movie so goddamn much. I fucking love it. This movie,
and that's what being privileged is all about.
Oh God.
God, it's so good.
But I would say,
speaking of Vigo the Carpathian,
I would say that this movie is very Thanksgiving-y because it's about a family. It's about a great Thanksgiving twist, which is someone from the family bringing someone from the outside into the family, that being Joan Cusack, who, is getting with Fester. There being some family drama and things going on with that. And then it all kind of coming back together and one big happy family at the end. What else is Thanksgiving about, really? And one of the children dressed up as a giant turkey saying, "Eat me." I mean, what is more of Thanksgiving than that?
Yeah. Summer camp, all the classic Thanksgiving tropes.
I haven't seen this in a while because I'd seen it so many times. And fun fact, this is one of the rare instances where I'd seen the first Addams Family first and then the sequel.
You wild man. Do you watch these in order?
But I only had the soundtrack on cassette for this one. Because for whatever reason, I was obsessed with the MC Hammer song.
As you should be.
Which absolute banger.
Man,
this I hadn't seen it for and you watch this movie when you're younger. Now that you're older, you watch it with different eyes and you catch so many more jokes and gags and bits. I mean, every line in this movie is hysterical.
It is so quotable. It is so quotable.
Give me a kiss. Give me a 20.
It's like, I'll play the victim all your life.
Isn't he a lady killer? Acquitted.
Yeah, acquitted.
That's so good. It's great. I was reading this thing and people were asking, like, if you're home alone watching a movie like a comedy, do you actually laugh out loud? And watching this and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, absolutely yes, I did.
Yeah.
But cackling at this movie, it's so funny.
It's crazy to me as well because the way it works, I mean, they've done Addams Family, stuff like that. But I remember in the UK when Addams Family, the first one, was coming out, there was a sense of excitement because even among people my age and younger, it was weird, but Addams Family was always on BBC Two. The black and white sort of like comedy from back in the day would come on in the afternoon or in the, just after school, and you'd watch Addams Family and it was funny. There was the Addams Family and there was the Munsters, right? And it was like, but to me, they both were fun. They both cracked me up. And so when they were like, "Oh, we're making Addams Family into a movie," everyone was like, "Oh yeah," which is crazy to think. I mean, like it's like
it's not like it's not an insanely popular franchise that they're like, we got to bring. But now, I mean, you have the Wednesday show on Netflix, and I guess it's relevant again. I don't know.
Well, and they made the anime. I mean, that's the thing though. That I was sitting there going, "Wow, I can't believe that." We've got a sequel to The Addams Family, which is based off a black and white situation comedy that's been showing in syndication in America and the UK, goes on to make $111 million in 1993.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of nutty, but there's something that's just endearing about The Addams Family. And I think it's because somebody said it one time, they're a family that actually does love each other. And there's something about like the fact that even they are these like goofy, like, Halloween caricatures, the fact that they all are a family, like, because Monsters you brought up, I think I've seen maybe an episode of that. I don't know, that to me, that just never stuck with me. That just always felt dumb. and stupid.
It's
but
not. They're not horny enough.
Definitely not horny enough. Yeah. There's just something about the Addams Family where it's just like, I think it's just an endearing idea.
Yeah.
You know,
and they're all such memorable characters too. I mean, you have like every single one of them is so iconic. And I love the callbacks to the first film when I forget her name. She shows up with cousin It, and she's got a little baby, and it's named What? It's just like a clump of hair.
I always loved cousin It when I watched the show. But yeah, kind of like you're saying is, they're a very positive family. Like Angelica Houston and Raul Julia, Morticia and what's his face? Sorry,
Gomez
and Morticia. They're just like, you know, they're a horny middle-aged couple that love each other and love to fuck. You know,
she's like, I'm going to have a baby now.
Yeah. I just love it.
It's an Addams. It's every line of this movie is so perfectly done, like delivered.
Mrs. Addams, we need you to push, and she's like.
She's like, do you want a sedative? She's like, no, but maybe ask the children. I mean, we could sit here all day and quote this fucking movie.
Any opportunity for a gag, this movie takes it. And thank God.
Visual or like, and I was worried like some of the visual stuff wouldn't hold up. I remember when this had come out, like thing skateboarding on the roller skate, that was like such a big like visual thing for them to do for this. And
still look good.
It's great. Yeah. Great.
It looks.
I guess invented the tech deck like that we all had like in like junior high. So they gave those people the idea.
Yeah, they should all cut their hands off.
So the plot of this movie, because it actually has a plot, unlike the previous movie we were talking about, but essentially is that the Addamses have a third child. They wanted to give him a name that's really going to help him in future life. They name him Hubert. He's born with his little mustache and everything. He's like, it's amazing. So what happens is Wednesday and Pugsley, the other children, Christina Ricci and Jimmy Workman, have a bit of sibling rivalry and try to murder the baby in a number of hilarious ways.
One of the lines, I'm sorry, it sticks out. She goes, he has my father's eyes. She's like, Gomez, take those out of his mouth. I fucking love this. I love it. I had such a blast watching this movie.
They come so quickly. It's like any little line is a setup to an immediate payoff joke. That they, again, like you're saying, it's like a David
Zucker film, like a Police Squad or something. It is like blink and you'll miss it. Every line is hysterical,
and also just played perfectly.
Yeah,
you know that's the thing. This movie, and it's also because it's got such great production design.
Yeah,
it's almost like they took all the best of Tim Burton without letting Tim Burton be all Tim Burton about.
And that's what I was wondering, if because I didn't do enough research on the original film, but it seemed like they wanted Tim Burton to direct it, and he's like, no, I'm gonna do, I don't know what he was doing at the time, but he's like, use my cinematographer, Barry Sonnenfeld, he'll do it. And then so growing up all my life, I had just thought that Addams Family was a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, it feels like it. Yeah, I mean,
it really does.
The second one, you've just got. It's like this. The only thing that's missing is Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. Then it'd be a Tim Burton movie. But
thank God they're not in it.
We get Raul Julia, who this is his last movie during his lifetime. He did appear posthumously in Street Fighter, which the
greatest movie ever made.
But hey, he still swings for the fences in that one. But I mean, he's such an amazing actor. But him as Gomez in the first and second movie,
I mean, it's
iconic.
Yeah, it's either you only know him as that or M. Bison. That's
it. Yeah, and he's an incredible actor. I mean, you know, Kiss of the Spider Woman and things like that. Like he is phenomenal. But yeah, it's just anytime I think of him, it's this like role. It's him as Gomez Addams.
Yeah,
I love Street Fighter just because it's a campy, great time. But this is the role I think of, and it's such a shame that he passed away so young.
Yeah.
It's actually, I mean, if you think about it, considering how stacked the cast is, for a lot of them, if I think Angelica Houston, I think Morticia. I also think The Witches, but I usually think, you know, I'll go with Morticia. If you think Carol Kane, you know, you think about Christopher Lloyd.
I forgot she wasn't the grandma. She wasn't Mama in the first one. I think they brought her on for this. A different actor played her in the original.
That could be. I was going to say, we all know her from, everyone say it with me, Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Star Trek Strange New Worlds, yeah.
I love Carol Kane. she's such the perfect fit for grandma in this movie as just a grotesque. She's like, that takes me back. She's her little lines here and there. It's so good.
Yeah, I didn't see her in the first one. Good call.
Yeah.
But then you've also got, I mean, Christina Ricci. I mean, as Wednesday, I mean, it's almost the movie that made
David Krumholtz.
David Krum. I love Krumholtz in this. I love Krumholtz.
Another Oppenheimer star.
I was about to say. The Oppenheimer crossover continues. It's like, it's almost like everyone in the cast except for Pugsley kind of is a legend, you know. And Pugsley's like, no, there's no criticism to that actor or his character. It's just you're in this just superstars, like pretty much, and they're all crushing it, like crushing it. I cannot get enough of Wednesday and Pugsley at summer camp. That whole just bright, colorful, waspy, just blonde girls, and
everyone is blonde and blue-eyed. And when they're going through and she's reading off the names of like the not selected children, she's like Jamal. Oh my, it's so troubling. It's like the Indian kid, the kid with the glasses, the black kid, the kid in the wheelchair, and it's just like it's just,
and the Addams is
God.
Because again, it's so quotable. You got Peter McNichol and Christine Baranski as Gary, and Becky Martin Granger.
Call back from him as the partner in Stone Cold. A lot of callbacks in this. A lot of callbacks. Peter McNichol.
Learn, we're here to grow, and it's like that's what being privileged is all about. His delivery of that is so majestic.
Good. Yeah, and I went to a sleepaway camp for many years when I was a kid. I'm sure I brought that up here, but it's exactly like that.
Is Christina Ricci there? Because those were the summer camps I was trying.
What do you think kept me going back?
My forever crush, Christina Ricci. And again, my only criticism for the Wednesday show, should have made her Morticia, because that would have been the hottest thing in the whole world, and would have been the best TV show ever made at that point.
I enjoyed that show. I'm gonna say
it's cute. It's fun. I'm not gonna watch it again.
Not for me.
But so the bit that the absolute reason that many people, including myself and my wife, consider this a Thanksgiving movie is the best part is Peter McNichol likes to put on a play. And of course, like sort of Ryan was saying, all of the lead characters and the pilgrims, all the blonde girls, the waspy girls, and all like, you know, there's like the Hoyts of the world. And then the natives are played by all of the camp rejects. But at this point, they've been trying to break out. So David Krumholtz and Christina Ricci have been kind of bonding over their mutual weirdness, and have tried to sort of like escape the prison camp. And I like the whole, you know, like searchlight.
The
shit
bit
like
when
that.
they put them in like the shame cabin, and David Krumholtz shows up and he's reading. Oh my God, it's a I think the Stephen Hawking book.
Yeah, it's like
he's like, I just wanted to read. He like Peter McNichol busts back in. He's like, not on my watch, nerd. He grabs the book. But then Krumholtz like looks around in this terror, and it shows like a poster of Michael Jackson next to "We Are the World," and he lets out this bellowing scream that is so prescient, and it was so appropriate for the time. Like, oh my God, I love this movie so much.
He was supposed to be involved in this movie for a song or something like that, but there was some sort of legal issue. It wasn't that legal issue.
He played cousin it.
Yep. Perfect, absolutely nailed it. And they basically try to reprogram Wednesday and Pugsley and Krumholtz with the power of Disney, force them to watch Disney movies. And it's like
the look on Christina Ricci's like, her face. Oh my gosh. And then they do it later with the Kumbaya thing, and she's just like trying to get to the fence and just And what's crazy is at that Thanksgiving scene is her cadence and her line delivery changes so dramatically, and she really puts that on. It's very jarring.
Pocahontas, a Chippewa native. So basically,
crazy.
They come out of the Disney hut, and after 6 hours of Disney torture, she comes out, and the way, just the acting of her going from Wednesday to smiling, is like, you genuinely believe she's never used these muscles in her face.
Even the reaction shot of the other kids are just in horror. Like they're
Gary.
God,
it sets up the absolute just majestic moment, the bit that is always so funny to me, when suddenly, like Ryan's saying, Wednesday twists, and suddenly she's Wednesday again. She goes, Pocahontas, for what you've done to our people.
We can't wait. I cannot break bread with you.
And suddenly,
like, Carrie, what are you doing?
They attack, and my favorite bit is like the bit where the kid in the wheelchair is like wrapping them up with rope by driving around them and stuff like that.
And that girl who plays that, what's her name? Is her
Amanda Buckman?
She's the Girl Scout in the first Addams Family film, right?
Yes.
Good call.
I don't know if she's the same person. She's playing the same character.
But I always thought that was the implication, is she was the same character,
right? But for no reason, it didn't matter.
It's amazing. You get like fire. You got arrows being fired. You've got everything, and
the kid in the electric wheelchair going around with the rope tying her to the thing.
And it builds all the way up to like they've got them ready to be burnt, and you just hear the he lights the matches, and you get and you're just like,
yep. You're like, I'm totally okay with her burning this child to death.
Yeah,
totally fine. Played for laughs.
This whole movie is played for laughs, and it's like infanticide and murder and all these other things, and you go, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's
like,
it's so funny. Yeah,
it's like a comic. And I mean, I know originally Charles Addams had that the newspaper comic, but it's so funny. It's so dark and morbid, but you're right. There's such a loving and caring family that you can just kind of look past all that.
Yeah. Well, let's also, I mean, the fact that we've been talking as long as we have about this movie without barely mentioning Joan Cusack.
Ooh.
To come into an Addams Family movie, and it's Joan Cusack, and she's like so funny and so crazy and such a psycho and so hot as well. Isn't like Joan Cusack a hottie in this?
Smoke show on this.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
So she comes in. All right. So if you haven't seen the movie, they're in need of like a nanny, as you could hear. There's been sort of things going on with the kids, and she turns up, and all of the other nannies, Cynthia Nixon.
The interview, yeah.
You've got all the sort of interviews with the other ones, but she comes in, but you quickly sort of see, was it America's Unsolved Mysteries or something like that?
With Peter Graves or something.
Yeah.
It's a big show, but yeah.
Basically it's talking about this murderer, like whatever her name is, the Spider or something like that. But she marries rich men, murders them on their wedding night, and disappears. And so you're like, all right, okay, we go.
And she's sitting there watching her on this show, like eating chocolate. She's like, that's good. Yeah. And she's but soon enough, the money runs out, and it cuts to like $4 on the dresser.
Yeah.
And it shows all of her disguises on the wall, and it pauses on Kathy Lee Gifford. It's so fucking funny. It's such a silly gag. Like she changes her disguise every so often, but it's oh my god, it's perfect.
That's the thing of this movie.
It's like the genesis to all these murder podcasts was this movie.
She takes a shine to Fester, and of course it's the reason they end up getting sent to summer camp is because Wednesdays she's getting suspicious. They're getting suspicious of her. They don't like what she's doing, so she manipulates things to get sent off, which is again hilarious. She even wins over Thing, which is quite fun. The bit
so
where
weird.
Thing's finger. And
he walks around on the floor. Why would you put that finger in your mouth? It's so gross.
Oh, I love it. In
already forgetting the fact that it's a severed hand. That's
exactly. That's the one thing. It's unrealistic. Will.
She's like, I'm good with my hands. It's just fucking great. It's
the hand acting though.
It's so good.
It's so good.
There's a scene, such a throw. It's like I just noticed so many more gags in this because I'm just like more aware of them. Where Fester is like, now he falls in love with Debbie. She's beautiful. Meanwhile, Debbie's clearly there for his money, but he's talking to Gomez, who's like this amazing romantic. And he's like, I'm hoping I want what you have. Hopefully there's a woman out there for me. And he goes, well, there's always Thing. And like, it's assumed that Thing, and then it cuts the Thing and he's just like, oh, fuck. He's like, please, no. I can't jerk him off anymore. That's so fucking weird. But like in my adult brain, I'm like, oh, that's what that joke means.
Right.
Oh God.
Yeah, this is the first time I caught that as well. And then the PS to that scene is where they're looking through the magazine. They get to fold out. They're like, oh, mom.
Jesus. It's so fucking good. It's so good. Much.
It did just make me want to immediately put on the first one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As well. But it's like it's quite fun that when all right, so Debbie kind of steals him away. They're living in their ridiculous mansion. They've got him in that white suit and the wig. And
Oh God, it's
yeah,
horrifying.
she keeps trying. That's the most horrifying part of the whole movie. Is like, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, it itches, and she's like, wait, just let the scab fall off, or like, wait for the scab to fall off. It's like, a credenza. I just know this movie fucking front to back.
Joan Cusack can deliver any line. It's like I said, my missus, so Malibu Barbie. It's
like monsters, and they're watching this. She's like, that takes me back. I love it. It's so good. It's so
but
good.
she keeps trying to kill Fester, and of course Fester's basically invulnerable, like electrocuting him in the tub, and then he's got the
classic light bulb. Yeah.
She tries to blow, and she's doing that whole. She set the bomb, and Fester's like, "Oh, it's a bomb," and she's like, "Wait, what?" He's
when he's in the hot tub or the bathtub, and she's like, I bought this collection of 500 greatest lovemaking songs. He goes, what's this one called? She goes, 438. Something like that. It's just a number. It's so good. It's so good. I love the plot of this. It's like she's just trying to get to his money. She wants to kill him. That's her MO, but he's unkillable.
Yeah. But at the same time, she's a perfect member of the Addams family because she's a serial killing psychopath.
Yeah.
Which is like, no. But like again, it gets to the point where she's got all of them tied up. In
the slideshow.
Yeah, she does the slideshow. She shows all the different murders. I love the bit where it's like, what is it that he's like, raise your hands, and then everyone's like, they're all struggling.
Did any of you really love me? Hands?
Hands. This movie is amazing.
Even the thing is like he's handed like this with like a around his weird. And you can like sometimes see into his like hand hole. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't like that. But
it makes no sense to me. But
that's special effects, baby.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah, these movies, like I remember that being it was pretty legit. We did have David Hyde Pierce. Delivery room doctor. You had Nathan Lane.
Yes.
Cook him, and book him.
No.
They're making love right now. You don't say. It's like
he's whole run. So good. I mean, he's in that movie for 30 seconds, and he's absolutely crushes it.
Tony Shalhoub is in it as well.
As the macho man seared into my brain, where they're all like fawning over her, and she's like, I'll be right back. It's my honeymoon. And she leaves. And then the woman serving at the bar walks up, and they all start dancing with her. And she's just like, it's like packed to the gills with visual gags. It's so good. And that's why I love this movie. I think I love this movie so much more than the original, because like my young brain, it was just like overstimulated. Whereas the first one's a little bit darker and a little bit more morbid, where this one is just really so much more fun and funny.
Yeah, it's a lot of comedy. I mean, it got significantly better reviews than the first film, which is what they claim. But I'm like, I think they're both great. I love the first one because it's like, I think part of it was the frustration of it being so long until we got Fester, until we actually got the family.
Yeah.
I found that as sort of like a frustration, where in the second one, you've just got the Addams family being the Addams family.
Yeah, they're all back.
They're in their groove for sure. I still don't understand the plot of the first one, that how he is the actual Uncle Fester. I know you said that there's like a throwaway line, and I've seen this movie for the last fucking 30 years, but I'm like,
there's like a very, very quick,
like he fell off a boat. Like it makes no sense, but I'm willing to look past that because the man can light up a light bulb from his mouth.
I mean, Christopher Lloyd in this role is just a force of nature. He's just incredible. It is funny that both these movies are like, Fester centric, but Christopher Lloyd is so good that I just do not care. It works.
Yeah, the scene. They all go out to dinner. They go on the double date together.
The breadsticks, right?
That, and then when Morticia and Joan Cusack they go into the bathroom to powder, and then she's like cleaning. She's like, he's like, does he normally throw up with women he likes? He's like, no, just you.
Yeah, I love it.
Like,
you've got.
Do you think he likes me? He's
dancing.
like, of course he threw up. He vomited. It's hilarious.
But it's just the comedic genius way of like he's sticking the breadsticks up his nose. And then she turns around, and then he struggles to get them back in, and then she's already turned around again. Just his comic timing with two breadsticks
Oh my god,
up his nose, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this movie is so good.
Yeah,
I'm
Best
so
to
glad.
say goodbye to Debbie, and he runs up to the stairs. He's like, and he just
I love that bit.
He's like a child. Like he's
watching
so.
it. That was like I quote that noise as well.
Yeah, and when you find out he's a virgin, and she's like, he's like having sex. He's like, how do you know we're not having it right now? And she's like, well, because he creeps on his fucking brother and his wife. It's so this family is so absolutely fucked, and I love them so much.
Like, oh my god, the bit where Gomez, because when the child gets sick by becoming normal. And having like blonde hair and rosy cheeks.
Blonde curl, it's crazy.
And you've got like, go with swing low, swing
It's so insane.
My husband Gomez,
and he's dying.
Yeah, whenever Gomez gets like emotionally distressed in these movies, he just goes into like a fugue state each time, and
it's just a testament it's just a testament to like how good Raul Julia is in this. He's such an iconic role.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely crushes it. This movie is a treasure from beginning to end. It's all about family. It's all about Thanksgiving. Though there is one movie famous for Thanksgiving.
Home for the Holidays 2.
Terrifier
More
3.
holidays.
Written, directed, produced by the legendary John Hughes, another great talent that we lost far too early. Let's talk about 1987's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, starring Steve Martin and John Candy. Now, I have an interesting relationship with this movie because I saw it when I was quite young. Now, I saw it when I was quite young, when I know John Candy from Uncle Buck and The Great Outdoors, where I know Steve Martin from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and all these sort of movies that I've seen, and I know John Hughes from Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Weird Science and stuff like that. So I remember watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles too young and being like, not getting it. Finding it kind of a bummer, a bit of a downer, kind of frustrating. Whereas you watch it now, you watch it at our age, and it's a treasure of a movie. What is your guys' like relationship with this movie? When the first time you saw it and things like that?
Oh man, yeah, I was probably around a similar age too, and went through a very, very similar thing. Like, this movie just didn't connect with me when I was a kid because I didn't get it. And watching this now, it's just like an hour and 40 minutes of pure anxiety, like crippling anxiety from the opening of him in the meeting to the very end. It's just makes my fucking blood boil. It's perfect.
Doesn't take the foot off the gas, really, does it, from the very, very beginning. What about you, Will? When was the first time you saw it?
I actually saw this a little bit later. I saw this, I think, when I was in junior high with my dad. And so I had already done a little bit of traveling by then. I'd already been on a plane and stuff like that and gone to visit family back in Buffalo. So a little bit of it connected. And my dad, when I was a kid, would travel a lot. And so would always come back with travel stories. So I connected with it a little bit better. It wasn't so, obviously now that I'm an adult and I've had all these issues, like trying to travel, it works even better. But no, I still found it really funny, like as a kid. And also just because I just think John Candy just can't not be funny.
And Will, your dad is a shower curtain ring salesman, correct?
Yes. He's moved up. He's starting to sell shower curtains now, but back then
there was there are lots of sort of John Hughesian, Ferris Buellerian, sort of Home Alone.
A lot of good eye work in this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
but you got like
extreme
Ferris Bueller's dad is in the office at the beginning. The secretary at the school is working at the car rental place.
And this was before Ferris Bueller, right? This is the year before. I remember looking at
7.
Wasn't, or was the year
Ferris
after?
Bueller 86?
Yeah. I think it's I forget if it was before or after, but yeah, it's crazy. Like, this movie seems so much earlier in his career compared to like Ferris Bueller. Like, Ferris Bueller seems so much more modern than this movie.
The interesting thing about this one is that it's R-rated. And it's R-rated for, I think, literally only one scene. It is the best, most quotable scene.
And it feels like it feels almost out of place seeing it in the context of this movie. It's also jarring just to hear Steve Martin going on fucking tirade.
It's glorious. We'll get there. We'll get there. Let's set up real quickly. It's a very simple premise. Steve Martin is an ad executive in New York, needs to get back to his family in Chicago 2 days before Thanksgiving. Kind of like Ryan says, from that moment, it just starts a constant sort of like stream of bad luck for Steve Martin. He trips over this huge case that's very recognizable, that then ends up stealing his cab. That guy stealing his cab is John Candy, and then he keeps bumping into John Candy. He doesn't get on first class. He's sitting next to John Candy, gets to know him. The flight gets diverted to Wichita, and so starts just so many comedic things that go wrong.
Oh my God. Like now that I'm having like fucking PTSD flashbacks of them in the hotel room, it's literally my blood is boiling just thinking about their relationship. And John Candy is so big and beautiful and sweet and caring. But in this, he's just so like, I'm curious to think, like, are we all Steve Martin in this movie? Like, do people watch this through the lens of Steve Martin's the asshole and John Candy's like, I don't see what the big problem is.
Like it's both, isn't it? Because it's like, because John Candy is the worst, but also really nice and the best. And Steve Martin is a bit of a cynic. He's angry and he like, so John Candy's character brings sort of the heart out in Steve Martin. And like Steve also sort of helps sort of like John Candy's character realize, okay, I am having an effect on these people. But at the same time, I like who I am. My wife likes who I am. My customers like who I am. And he is quite an affable guy. But at the same time, you're on a plane next to him and he starts taking his socks off. Oh, my dogs are and he starts, I'm watching this and I know all these things are triggering Ryan like crazy. The one bit I wanted to call you, but is he's getting out of the shower and the bathroom in the hotel is disaster. Every single, look at Ryan's face, every single towel is soaked on the floor. And it's that one shot of his toe kind of going onto the soaking bathroom floor. And he's got this tiny little
tea towel.
I bet Ryan wanted to jump out the window.
That's not nearly as worse as the next day when they, oh my God, fucking this movie. It drives me, it has a visceral effect on my mental health. When he goes in to wash his face and he just does this, and you look down at the disgusting water when he dries his face off in his fucking underwear and I'm like, oh my God. And he's still like, you don't even see it happen, but John Candy spills the beer in the bed. Like it's everything. It's like how can it possibly go this far? And it fucking does.
And it keeps going. And
it keeps going. Yeah.
I like the little, like, it's, the hint of comedic homophobia, but again, not in any just the insecure so they wake up and they're snuggling, and like John Candy's kissed his ear and he realizes his hand is between his butt cheeks.
Those aren't pillows. I mean, those are one of the most iconic lines in this fucking movie. And
they jump out of the bed
and they're doing
those bears,
It's so good.
But
I don't understand how the crew got through shooting without like just dying of laughter. Every shoot.
I was, because of course I'm looking on the IMDb trivia page, but he shot like, this was a 3.5 hour film shot on an insane amount of film. Like, give me that cut. I'm like, I don't know if I need more of this to go completely insane.
I don't think you could take much more. I think it's just the right amount of stress, because every single thing goes wrong. So be it they're on the plane, it gets diverted. They have to go to a motel. They've only got one room, and this is again, this is John Candy's character helping out Steve Martin's character. Then you see the moment very near the beginning of the movie where their credit cards get switched.
Yeah.
So that goes wrong. Then they end up on a train, but the train breaks down. So every time Steve Martin tries to get away from Gil, that's his name, right?
Del.
Tries to get away from Del. Situations kind of bringing them together. And the thing is, at the same time, Steve Martin's, well, I don't want to be a dick, so I'm going to go help this guy. And then, but it gets to the point of, I mean, they've been on buses, they've been, the train's broken down, but they get to sort of the rental car place. And once again, Steve Martin has figured out how, okay, I'm going to get away, I'm going to go on my own. He gets dropped off on the ass end of nowhere. and his rental car is not there. And you get that great scene of him walking down a highway, slipping down the side, literally crossing a runway, which is, again, pre 9/11 kind of like stuff
you can't do that.
Yeah, just utter insanity.
But it sets up the best scene of fucks in the history of movies, where, again, like I said, you watch this whole movie, cut that scene out, it's basically PG-13.
Yeah.
But you put this one scene in, because he's like, no, I want Steve Martin, I want Neil's character to be driven so far past the point of that he just, you can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile off your rosy fucking
And
cheek.
she even does the same thing where she like scratches her head with the pencil she does in like Ferris Bueller.
And it's glorious delivery from Steve Martin. And he's just so angry, so frustrated. And she's like, can I see your rental agreement? He goes, I threw it away. She's like, oh, you're fucked. So good. So good.
Guys, if you're listening at home, just fire up YouTube and watch that fucking scene. It's iconic.
It's incredible. But then he ends up in a rental car with Dell once again, which again sets up some of the best comedy in the movie is where the car ends up going the wrong way down.
This movie is my waking nightmare. And I've seen this movie many, many times, but for some reason watching it this week, like pre-Thanksgiving, was making my blood boil. Like, I don't know what it was. The car scene, like everything that happened, like it's a perfect movie. I'm just going to say it's a perfect movie. It's insane how this got made. And every step of the way, it just gets progressively, it's a fucking roller coaster. Every time they enter a new mode of transportation.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster, but that roller coaster is a spiral that constantly goes down. It just gets worse and worse. Like, for example, they're driving the wrong way on the highway, and I love this bit where the guy's in the car next to them, and they're going, "You're going the wrong way." Like, how would they even know where we're going?
Yeah. And even Steve Martin, like you can tell, like they like through all of this, they're still like bonding a bit here and there. Like they've become symbiotic. But like, how are they going down the wrong way of the highway? Oh my God. Well, you got John Candy breaking the fucking seat. Then you've got Steve Martin switching and sitting in the seat and getting smashed. Then you got John Candy chain smoking cigarettes, listening to Miles Davis. The cigarette goes in the back. You in a blink and you'll miss it, doing like the piano thing. It's just some fantastic. Again, every step of this is making my skin crawl. Because I am Steve Martin in this movie.
The physical comedy of John Candy in the scene where he's managed to hook both of his arms on and he's trying to drive. And I'm like, I know what's going to happen, but when he hooks the second one, I literally go, oh no. You know, it's just
almost impossible, but he managed to figure out how to do it. It's so good.
And he can't get his arms out of the jacket, and he's steering with his feet. His knees.
And then leading to like them going between the semis is
my God.
Even as a kid, it was like my favorite part.
That terrified me. It's like that scene, I was just at the right age. It was like that scene and the Large Marge scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, traumatizing. Like the flashes to them as skeletons. Yeah. And then him just going between the car screaming and then cutting to him as the devil. Oh, chef's kiss.
One of the funniest shots in movie history. I was just even watching it this last time, I'm like in tears. Like, it's so funny.
It's still Will, no offense, that would be a fantastic Halloween costume.
I've thought about it. Especially now I got the
stash.
Going, I'm like, I kind of maybe I should keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great, I mean, you're right, because they set up, they're going the wrong way, and then we get that it's an empty highway and two trucks. And so he sets the sort of like the stakes of it. We don't get that payoff for another 90 seconds, but it's coming. Now, if you're listening to the podcast, Ryan was literally covering his face with stress just then. But
it's so crazy.
They're going between the cars, and then they're both skeletons. And it's funny because it was at Thanksgiving, just the day after Thanksgiving, we're over at brother-in-law's house, and it was the second Home Alone. And they do the same thing where he's getting electrocuted and he's screaming more and more, and suddenly he's screaming as like a skeleton.
Oh, is that that's the second one? Okay.
That's the second one. I thought it was the first one too, but it is the second one because I watched it just the other day. But it's just comedy gold. And then like you said, before all of this, before catching his wrists, before, you know, the playing of, before driving the wrong way, and before meeting up with the trucks, it's set up that his cigarette had gone into
and
the back.
So much happens that you completely forget about that. Right. I mean, there's a brief shot where you see like smoke coming out of the back, like when they're kind of calmed down or something, but it's wild to me.
And then suddenly
and even before all that, he's like, "Hey, I'm putting my wallet in the glove box. Don't let me forget."
You know, as an audience member, you're just like, no, don't do that.
Fucking Chekhov's wallet, man.
The bit where he tries to check into the motel with his melted cards.
And another great thing about this movie, and every character is so like perfectly fit into this John Hughes universe, much like you would see in like a Coen Brothers movie. Like everyone just, it doesn't matter how brief their screen time is, it just works in this world.
I would say, except for one character. There's one character in this movie that I think is kind of strangely miscast, weirdly out of place, not used enough, and I bet a lot of the cutting room floor was covered in, but it's the wife. The wife is barely in the movie. She's like, the stakes, you just cut back to her every now and again and she looks miserable. Yeah. But it's like, there's no anything to her character. You're not, why is she, you know, when she hugs him at the end, there's a tear runs down her face and I go, why?
I think it's just, it puts more emphasis on like the ticking clock of the whole situation.
Right.
Like to
that's what I'm saying. I understand it as the ticking clock. I just feel like she's presented in a different way on screen that for me, it's always a bit of a standout. I mean, they could have.
It's a good point.
You know, I also don't know who that person is. you know, I think they could have cast any sort of famous 80s mom and it would have done better. So one tiny thing about this movie is that. But it's such a tiny thing because her role is minute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Matthew Lawrence has more lines in this movie.
Yeah. She comes back a couple times and that's about it.
Do I get noogies?
Money Planes Matthew Lawrence.
Very cute.
And then he's like, and his line is like, I would prefer noogies. You know,
he's so cute. It's cute. Yeah,
the sad kid wants noogies.
Yeah. I can't believe Adam Driver lost the role to Matthew Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, you understand why though. It's the whole noogies delivery. I think is right. That Adam Driver would grow into his noogie delivering. I think with Kylo
in Ferrari.
Yeah. And there's another random scene I really enjoy, which shows John Candy is a really good salesman. Well, actually, one is you realize that anytime he meets anyone, they know him and like him. Yeah. And he's got a connection everywhere, all across the country. Oh, I know a guy, he's going to be able to give us a lift. I know a guy who's going to be able to get us on this train. I know a guy that will put us up in his motel. So you can tell that it gives you these little context clues as to he travels a lot. He's a very amiable guy. People do like him, but it's this salesman bit where they need cash, and I think they're in the bus station or something like that. But he's selling the rings, these shower curtain rings, as earrings to people. And he's like, oh, this is the sign, this, that, and the other. This one, that makes you look at least 18 years old. And he's just making money, hand over fist. And I love that little scene of just like going, well, Dell is actually an exceptionally good salesman.
For such an insane product, too. Like, what is he, like the pitch, like, what is he going to be a traveling salesman for? Shower curtain rings?
Everybody needs them. He pulls that thing out of his pocket and he's got that, like, you know, the little thing. Oh.
Even like, so you catch the beginning when Steve Martin like looks down and the cab is gone and you see that puddle, there's shower curtain rings in it. Oh, such a blink and you'll miss it thing. Yeah,
I did miss that. Also, the blink and you miss it right before that of racing for a cab against Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
I forgot. Funny. I completely forgot that Kevin Bacon was in this movie.
And then I think later on, the wife is watching on TV. She's got it's a John Hughes Kevin Bacon movie. I can't remember what it was, but it's another like kind of Easter egg for that.
There's also Ben Stein turns up as well.
So good.
Oh yeah.
Euler. Yeah. It's and then so. But you get that fun bit where, so we catch up where we were. So the car blows up, and then there's that fun scene of the guys drinking and just bonding. And it's just that bit where they kind of become mates again, because they're kind of constantly in and out, in there and that. And then the next morning they back the car into the motel and then run off. So they've destroyed the motel room, and then they get pulled over by the cops with their car.
McKean.
Yeah, Michael McKean, exactly. It's another incredible. Oh my god!
He's in this movie like 90. He's like in this movie for 90 seconds, crushing it.
But then it sets up that end. You know, and it's like it's the thing that everyone remembers because it's that you've been so annoyed and so much and so stressed out, and you finally get back to Chicago, and like Neil, Steve Martin's character, says to Del, "Well, you know what? You did get me home for the holidays." He jumps on the train. He's on the L, and he suddenly starts playing back things, and it's little things that again you've noticed but didn't notice throughout the movie. And it's like Del saying, you know, "Oh, my wife loves me," but he's like, "I haven't been home for years." And then he just starts putting 2 and 2 and 2 together, and he makes 8. And he sort of, you see him turn around, go back to the train, look for him, try and find him, and finds Del sitting, I think, in another bus station. And he's like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Yeah, my wife died 8 years ago. I'm basically homeless. I don't have a home. I'm alone, and I just traveled the country." And
wait, he's home alone?
He's
not, but it's sorry, not to.
He's the exact opposite.
But I mean, it's the absolute gut punch of that. I mean, you watch it now and you know, and you like you can kind of pick up on those little things here and there, but it's such a like heartbreaking moment, and it's such a beautifully done thing for such like for as stressful as this movie was to have that like, oh, okay, that kind of you cathart so hard, as you say. You know?
It's lovely.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get that bit where it's them walking down the street to Kevin McAllister's home. It's definitely in the same neighborhood as that and the house from.
It looks almost identical. It's crazy.
It looks so close.
Yeah.
The Wet Bandits definitely robbed it. But like, yeah, they're walking down both holding that giant trunk. I always wondered what was in that trunk, like his wife's body.
Shower curtain rings. His whole fucking life, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. And yeah, they go in. He introduces him to his kids and to all of his parents and his parents-in-law, and then his wife, and it's just lovely. And you just get this lovely, like,
so warm. Yeah.
Well, shit, what a hug that was. And it's kind of like, I guess in a way, very reflective of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That sometimes you get that drama, you get the stress of travel for sure. Whatever plans you think you're going to have, they kind of go a bit tits up. There's going to be a lot of arguing here and there, but when it comes down to it, you know, it just what's really important when it comes down to it, and let's all just have a day together. That it's
so
like
beautifully sweet.
Yeah. It's
to me
this is great movie.
To me, this is like because even though you don't see anything, there's no mention, like there's no like iconography that it is Thanksgiving. I guess you'd see the Thanksgiving Day parade, right? No,
they mentioned Thanksgiving a few times,
but it's not like
Thanksgiving.
I know you get that. It's at the core of it, but you don't see a lot of it. It's more or less like a road trip movie.
Yeah,
but it still is to me like the quintessential Thanksgiving movie. Even though this movie put me in therapy, it's still like
it's just I think
perfect.
I think everybody on some level can relate to like something that happened in this.
Definitely.
You know, like my dad was watching it with me, and he was having the same reaction as you, Ryan. He was just like, everything that happened in the movie, my dad's like, "This has happened to me. I've been in this situation." Like every scene, he's like, "Gosh, I've been traveling with somebody who's a coworker who I barely know. All of a sudden, we're stuck in like the same hotel room, and we
burned a car.
We burned a car. He just everything." My dad was like, "I've gone to the rental car lot where they bust me out. My car's not been there." He's like, "That's happened." So just every single thing, my dad's like, "I can't take this movie."
It's triggering, man. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Actually, and I didn't catch this. There is a post-credit scene. Did you guys see the post-credit scene?
I don't remember.
No. Is this where Nick Fury enlists?
Yes, he tells them about the Avengers Initiative. That's it. No, it goes all.
He says we're gonna need a bigger boat because they don't have any boats in this movie.
Napoleon. It's the guy from the very beginning, first scene. The client that can't decide.
Oh, his boss.
Yeah, that guy. it cuts back to that guy with a half-eaten Thanksgiving meal next to him, still trying to decide.
That's great.
Perfect.
As a creative person, that meeting that immediately like sent me into a fucking tailspin. Because I'm sitting there, he's looking, it's shot like in that perfect John Hughes way with these inserts and close-ups where he looks at his watch, great, like for thinking, like he ends up giving his watch away to get the motel room. He looks at the plane ticket, he looks at the time, he looks at his business partner, and he's like mouthing it. And Ferris Bueller dad is just blissfully unaware. He's like, what? You're gonna miss the 6. He's just fucking oh my god.
Where the client sits forward and they all sit forward, and then he sits back and they all sit. It's just like God. You reminded me actually of the great John Candy moment where Steve Martin's character has got him a motel room by giving away his watch. And John Candy's character, like, I got a Casio, and then he puts it along his arm. It's so funny.
But, I mean, just even when the after all that in the beginning, when he finally gets to the airport and sees John Candy again, and like the realization is he knows who it was, and it's just John Candy sitting in the airport with a cab door, and he just does the shocked face. I mean, that face is like, I love this movie so much, but I absolutely hate how it makes me feel for most of it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. You are the very first time you watch it so frustrated.
Yeah.
Whereas when you watch it again, you can go along for the ride, the frustration ride.
Hard disagree.
But at the same time, now I think about it, because we've got John Hughes, John Candy, Raul Julia, all of these guys that we lost too early. And I think, let's also focus on in Home for the Holidays, how close we got to losing Robert Downey Jr. At that age. Can you imagine to see where that career went and to see how close? I mean, I'll never forget. It's like when it's clipped from him when he was in court, and he's like, it's like I've got a shotgun in my mouth and I'm addicted to the taste of the barrel, or something like that. It's like, it's the way he described it. It's like, so yeah, I mean, like, in all of these movies, you got that little sort of like, we lost Raul Julia, it's such a tragedy. We lost John Hughes, John Candy, such a tragedy. And it's like, I guess that one little thing is like, we almost lost RDJ. Yeah. So we got this little dark link through all of that. That's my way of bringing everybody up here at the end of the book.
Well done. I was like, where are you going with this?
Well, I was just like,
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank God for Robert Downey Jr.
Be grateful for what you have.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, let's just get into the meat of this, of like, not just the meat and potatoes, but let's get into the sweet potatoes and the turkey and the stuffing and the gravy and the ham and of it all. I'm just thinking about, I didn't eat enough pie. What is the best Thanksgiving movie? For me, Home for the Holidays can fuck off and die. I'm just going to scribble that one out. I'm sorry. But that movie I paused halfway through, convinced it must nearly be over, and there was like an hour to go, and I'm like, this is going to be the longest hour of my life. Yeah. But also, thanks for bringing that, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
I wanted to round it out.
You did.
What was I going to pick? Spider-Man?
You should, I mean, want to be cool.
Exactly. I almost went with Spider-Man. That counts. It's got just as much Thanksgiving in it as Addams Family.
Well, I wasn't. I know we're jumping ahead to our other picks, but I wasn't about to make you all go and spend money to watch Eli Roth's Thanksgiving.
I would have gone with it.
Poltergeist.
Probably. Oh my God. Why didn't we go with
Poltergeist?
Poltergeist. Yeah.
And Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Turkey.
There's not a lot of listen, Christmas always steals the show. There's not a ton of great like Thanksgiving movies out there. There's movies with Thanksgiving scenes, but there's not a lot of Thanksgiving movies.
I agree. You've got that Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. You have Friendsgiving. You've got Mail's got a scene. Right. It's kind of like, I think there's something called even Knives Out. I wouldn't say
right.
Is any of that sort of
kind of more of a vibe than an actual? Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like the tough thing is, Thanksgiving is unfortunately, and I will say, like watching Home for the Holidays. One reason I am glad I watched it, it gave me an idea, and I'll share it with you guys afterward. Gave me an idea for a movie that I now want to do, and I was thinking about that while I was watching the movie. I'm like, oh wait, what if we did this? So I'm actually glad I watched Home for the Holidays, because now it inspired an idea that like I went home, like I went and like scribbled down like, oh, this is what I want to do.
You write Will Gets Home, you write Die Hard at Thanksgiving.
Then literally that, nothing else.
Starring Holly Hunter and Christina Ricci. There's a few son-in-law, Pauly Shore.
Yeah, I was talking about that. If it was streaming on something, I probably would have, because I mean, it's in similar vein. Like, yeah, it kind of revolves around going home for Thanksgiving, but it's really not. It's just an excuse to watch a really fun Pauly Shore, Carla Gugino movie.
There's the object of my affection, Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd. Thanksgiving, where she's got a crush on him, but he's gay. She's the only straight person at the Thanksgiving party. I like this one, guys, because we all love this movie. So technically, we could have gone with Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners. Because
I saw that on the list. I'm like,
the child is snatched on Thanksgiving Day.
I still have not seen it. I still have not seen Prisoners, and I own it. It's on my Blu-ray shelf.
Will, I am just as guilty as you, because I had it in my Netflix queue for years. I only watched it maybe 2 months ago, and it was because Ryan was like, dude, because I've been actually going backwards through Denis Villeneuve, like, because I really got him into Sicario, then I went forwards and I got all the way forwards, and I've been going backwards through all his movies. So there's the one before that I haven't watched either, which also has
Enemy.
Enemies.
Yeah, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and a giant spider.
Dude.
Perfect.
I play by a young Adam Driver.
It's got two Gyllenhaals. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal and Jake Gyllenhaal.
But I tell you,
weird.
Will, that is what you're doing today. Watch Prisoners. It is, wow, it is good. It is so good.
It's hilarious.
It's a comedy.
It stars Wolverine, Mysterio, excuse me, and the Riddler.
Wow. That time when Wolverine and Riddler.
He's not wrong.
It's like Patton Oswalt wrote this movie.
Grumpy Old Man Dutch with Ed O'Neill.
Yeah.
I did
save that for when we do like a road trip movie, right?
Yeah.
I looked at Sense of a Woman. That is technically, I do like that movie, but people do dog on it. There was there's exactly. There's more. We can definitely. But at the same time, guys, what are you guys thinking? Because for me, it's pretty much a slam dunk. Even
home for the holidays. Yep.
Home for the holidays.
Same page, buddy. Same page. Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I mean, listen. For the ethos of this podcast, it's got to be planes, trains, and automobiles. I mean, they're in multiple states.
Yeah.
They got multiple states, and the whole point is to get home for Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Yes.
Which is something like everybody can relate to. And as much as I love Addams Family Values, like I love both Addams Family movies, like they're fantastic. It really is just the one incredible scene. But
it's historically accurate.
Historically accurate. But yeah, I gotta go with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles because I just think it's more universal experience. Yeah. And a perfect film.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think as well. I'm also just very thankful for this podcast. It's great. I do just really enjoy the adventure we go on in these movies, but it was also it was wonderful to watch 2 of these 3 movies this week.
Like I said, if you picture Home for the Holidays takes place immediately after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it makes it a much better movie.
I agree.
Yeah. It's like the worst post-credit sequence ever.
Yeah. And also, I just enjoyed watching very beautiful Holly Hunter throughout the entire movie.
She was cool.
She was on screen. I was like, okay, this movie's fine. Yeah.
So there we have it. The official movie, according to the United States of a Movie podcast, that defines a state of thanks regarding Thanksgiving, the greatest Thanksgiving movie of all time, until such time as we dig into that list we were just going through and bring something else to the table, be it turkey or ham. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is the movie that represents Thanksgiving here. Probably no massive surprise to everyone involved, but one thing you should do if you've not seen it is go and watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Go and watch Addams Family and Addams Family Values and avoid Home for the Holidays. We're doing you a favor. We jumped on that grenade for you. But the question is, where are we going next week, guys? I've decided we're just going to start digging into some of these smaller states, some of these other places. I honestly think this one's going to be quite interesting. I think Will's going to have a bunch for this one. We're going to go to the state of Maine. It's the Maine state top right-hand corner. That's where we're going. I only know that because I've got a map of America open in front of me right now. So like, because there's someone, but I think Maine is where we're going to go. We're going to go to sort of new, apparently guys, there's a New England. You know, I've always been from
a better England, some would say.
I prefer the whoa.
That's where you're from, right, Ollie? New England, better than old England.
There's also a New Mexico. So yeah, guys, get your thinking caps on about Maine. Outside of that one, guys, don't forget you can always find us on our Facebook page, United States of Movie. You can find us on Reddit. We do have a subreddit. You can find me online as Ollie Pettigrew or as That Englishman in Texas. You can find Will as Entitled Willennial. You can find Ryan's designs on Threadless, threadless.com/Rhino, RYNO digital, all one word, though that will become, there will be a place to buy our merchandise in another place soon enough. Please do bring those comments. I love it on my Monday videos. You're always giving me suggestions on where we should go, on movies that we should do, or on states we should return to, because we were definitely wrong the first time, but we love it. We love interacting with you guys. We love doing this podcast. We can't wait to see you guys next week. Will, Ryan, thank you guys. Like I said, I am thankful for you. I'm thankful for this podcast. And I'm looking forward to what weird movies we find from the state of Maine next week. So from me, from Will, from Ryan, to all of us, for all of you there who are either watching or listening to us at home, thank you once again for joining us for the United States of a Movie podcast.